Man, these Democrats are panicking, man. Like, let's see what is going on, man. So they got Joy Reid said real dismantling of democracy. Trump DOJ finds a lawyer willing to file motion to dismiss Adams' case. First of all, Eric Adams is kind of going rogue, right? So the Democratic Party is upset that he's no longer going to be giving like $350 a week in food vouchers to illegal immigrants and supporting, funding that. Like he's basically going to be going along with what Trump wants to do in terms of, immigration policies and stuff like that. And you know that Eric Adams, he had an indictment on him, and I guess he probably feels like his own party didn't really try to help him out, but now he's kind of siding with Trump, and there's a lot of conspiracies going on, and people are thinking that Eric Adams is going to end up turning red. So it's a lot going on with this. So Democrats right now are trying to tear Eric Adams down. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at Joy Reid, you always got to question what is behind what she is saying. It says real dismantling of democracy. Trump DOJ finds lawyer willing to file motion to dismiss Adams' case.
Tonight with Donald Trump's take on law and order, as we now live in a country where the rule of law comes second to whatever Trump wants. We saw that on day one when Trump gave full pardons to the 1,500 January 6 insurrectionists, including the hundreds who violently attacked law enforcement officers. Considering the MAGA mob were called to the Capitol by Donald Trump, the rule of law did not apply to them. And it continues to this day with the pressure campaign by top officials in Trump's Justice Department, some of whom happen to also be his former criminal lawyers, to have the corruption charges against New York Mayor Eric Adams dropped, in part because they were interfering with Adams' ability to focus on the administration's immigration priorities. As of today.
Wait, so the Democrats didn't want his charges dropped. And so they're wondering why he's like playing ball with Trump. I mean, you guys kind of just like left dude out to dry. What y'all think he gonna do?
Today, 7 top federal prosecutors and officials, including the acting U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, Danielle Sassoon, have resigned in protest. The 7th resignation coming this morning from Hagan Scotton, an assistant U.S. attorney at the SDNY who didn't hold back in his letter to Trump's acting deputy attorney general, Emil Bovee, writing,
no system of ordered liberty can allow the government to use the carrot of dismissing charges or the stick of threatening to bring them again to induce an elected official to support its policy objectives. They be doing it. Democrats be doing this all the time. It's funny, like watching them, bro. I was trying to watch the liberal media to be like, yo, am I missing something? And the more I watch them, the more hypocrisy I see. It is insane. None of them had any issues with any of the pardons, anything that, Joe Biden did, pardoning some of these people that the public looks at as crooks. They ain't say nothing about it.
No system of ordered liberty can allow the government to use the carrot of dismissing charges or the stick of threatening to bring them again to induce an elected official to support its policy objectives. He also wrote, but any assistant U.S. attorney would know that our laws and traditions do not allow using the prosecutorial power to influence other citizens, much less elected officials in this way. If no lawyer within earshot of the president is willing to give him that advice, then I expect you will eventually find someone who is enough of a fool or enough of a coward to file your motion.
How much is they paying Joy Reid? She is something else, man.
But it was never going to be me. And the DOJ finally found someone to formally file the motion to dismiss the case. Ed Sullivan, a trial attorney.
Yo, Eric Adams, she's going to be like, oh, this is bad. Eric Adams made a smart move. Because they're like, yo, we're going to have Eric Adams just go down. Right? He's like, nah, I'm not sinking with the ship. Like, I'm aligning with the Republican Party. And I'll say this, Donald Trump's Republican Party is very, like, if you look at it, like, they've helped out a lot of Democrats, bro. Like Ron, that used to be the governor of Chicago, that ended up getting a pardon when Trump was signing executive orders. That was the guy that they were saying was trying to sell the vacant seat when Obama became president. But, he's a Democrat. He ended up getting pardoned. Tulsi Gabbard, she was a Democrat, but she ended up like becoming a Republican. But you got to look at RFK. He's a Democrat. He is going to be the head of the FDA, putting him in charge of that. But I think Trump wants to make Ron, I think like an ambassador of Syria. Like he was thinking about doing something like that. But it's very interesting to see at play, like how many Democrats are starting to work with Donald Trump. It is very interesting. And then it's like the Democrats, not only have they lost touch with their own people, you know what I mean, the public, you know what I mean? Like they've lost touch with their own like base, Democratic Party. And they'll leave their own out to dry, like quick. It's insane. This is insane. The Democratic Party, in my opinion, is crumbling before our eyes. I've never thought I would see this before.
Attorney with the Public Integrity Unit who is nearing retirement. He officially did that in just the last hour. It still requires a federal court judge to approve the decision before the charges can be dropped. But it came only after Bovee gave the remaining lawyers in the DOJ's Public Integrity section a 1-hour deadline earlier today for someone to agree to file it, or as Reuters reports, risk seeing all of the prosecutors in that section get fired. And according to 2 former DOJ officials, on top of...
And then remember they had that prosecutor that resigned because she didn't want to drop the charges against Eric Adams. This is, yeah, dog eat dog. Marie Brown, you are right. This is a dog eat dog. This is crazy.
Thanks for staying with us here on Live Now from Fox. We do want to continue on with some of our top stories. And as we teased before the break, we're heading to the Big Apple. Do want to show you another time a live shot that we have there in New York City. As you can see, the Empire State Building lit up in pink in honor of Valentine's Day. I'm sure Mayor Eric Adams is also happy on this Valentine's Day as the Justice Department this evening officially moved to drop the bribery and fraud charges. This matters because at least 7 prosecutors have resigned this week rather than obey a DOJ order to withdraw the indictment, with some criticizing the department leadership for making the decision, saying that it was for political reasons rather than legal reasons. So very interesting case that we want to follow here on Live.
But isn't the feds like facing questions over the Eric Adams indictment? Let me show y'all this.
Fox News alert.
Hold up.
Fox News alert. He's the first New York City mayor to face criminal charges, and Mayor Eric Adams says it's all payback for calling out the Biden-Harris border failures. Watch.
Interesting. And remember, we reacted to some of this stuff that was going on, and then Eric Adams ended up saying, I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. And the American people like, yo, what?
I have been fighting injustice my entire life. That fight has continued as your mayor. Despite our pleas, when the federal government did nothing as its broken immigration policies overloaded our shelter system with no relief, I have been facing these lies for months since I began to speak out for all of you.
Joining us now to react, New York City GOP Councilman Joe Borelli. Joe, thanks so much for joining the program. Hopefully you can give us some insight. Look, I don't know if he's innocent or guilty. I just find the timing a little coincidental, and I don't believe in coincidences and politics. He was a co-chair of the campaign for Biden and Harris. And all of a sudden, when he starts to criticize them on their migrant crisis, he starts criticizing them, and then what happens? An investigation. Why is that?
No, it's certain audio, bro. Like, what's going on with this audio?
Thanks for staying with us.
I might have to hold on. Let me see what's going on. My audio's messed up. My bad.
Fox News alert.
That was me.
Loaded our show.
You can give us some insight. Look, I don't know if he's innocent or guilty. I just find the timing a little coincidental, and I don't believe in coincidences and politics. He was a co-chair of the campaign for Biden and Harris. And all of a sudden, when he starts to criticize them on their migrant crisis, he gets an investigation. Why is that?
You see what I'm saying? Soon as he starts to criticize him, he gets an investigation. Yo, this politic game. It's a dirty game out here.
No, and certainly 4 years ago or so, I would have never questioned the impartiality of the DOJ. But that
Eric Adams is very vital to a lot of things going on. Like, I'm starting to find out like a lot of behind the scenes stuff about what he can do. So I don't know, man. This is very
question doesn't exist only when it's someone I happen to support is a target of that investigation. And there's a lot of things with this case that just might be a hair too cute. And again, he might be completely guilty, but it is a little bit too cute that the police commissioner was hired a week.
What's up, Deontay Kennedy, a member on the channel? Shout out. He said Thug Life, supporting the channel, and shout out to y'all for hitting on 100s in the chat.
Later, his home gets raided for documents for documents from 20 years ago, Lawrence. And it's not a coincidence that they raided this campaign staffer's home the day he was going to the White House to tell Joe Biden to end the migrant crisis. So this might just be a coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences.
Joe, we're also waiting for the indictment to come out so we can know some of the charges. But some of the allegations is a lot of these foreign governments, all these businessmen were giving him some money to his campaign. In return, there would be some calls made to City Hall or whatever to get permits and all that. Every mayor I know of does that. And as honest as we like them to be, they always get contributions to their campaign. So are we going to investigate all the rest of them as well?
Right. And that's really the crux of what we're talking about. And that's why so many of us are so eager for this indictment to be unsealed. If it's a weak case, then it only goes in further to what I was saying about the impartiality of the DOJ. I mean, right now, we just simply.
And if they got a strong case, why don't they just go ahead and push it now? I mean, but now the case has just been dropped. So.
We don't know. If it's beyond the scope and it's beyond taking, Turkish airline tickets or a free meal or something like that, yeah, it is troubling and it could end his mayoralty. But I'll also point out, Lawrence, that the people who are chomping at the bit and who are excited about this are the far left.
Let's be real. Like, when you get into politics, if people start like offering you free things, you know what I'm saying? They gonna take it, bruh. Oh, you want some free Pizza Hut? Yeah, go ahead and send that to the hotel. We got you.
Left politicians in New York City who believe they can take over this city if something happens to them.
Well, they also don't like his response to crime in this city, which you had a mayor before that didn't support the police, and he's a former cop. He supported the cops here. They've changed. I mean, I'm not saying things are perfect in the city right now, but there has been a little bit more of going on the offense, right?
Yeah, Lawrence, I disagree with Mayor Adams as a Republican half the time, but I could assure you, if the public advocate, Jumaane Williams, or the comptroller, Brad Lander, if these people whose names will be familiar to Americans very soon, if these people lead the city, I'll be disagreeing with them 99% of the time at least.
Yeah. Or Cuomo, who wants to make a return after, killing the grandmothers and grandfathers in the nursing homes. Joe, thanks so much for joining the program.
I'm Steve Doocy.
Oh, y'all be saying all kind of, Fox News is racist. And it looked like they trying to help Eric Adams. They even did a piece, right? They broke down the timing of New York Mayor Adams' indictment.
We've got breaking news this morning. New York City Mayor Eric Adams indicted on federal corruption charges. Details about those charges still under seal, but they could be made public as soon as this morning. Mayor Adams says he is innocent and will fight any charges against him.
I have been fighting injustice my entire life. That fight has continued as your mayor. Despite our pleas, when the federal government did nothing as its broken immigration policies overloaded our shelter system with no relief, I put the people of New York before party and politics. If I am charged, many may say I should resign because I cannot manage the city while fighting the case. Make no mistake, you elected me to lead this city, and lead it I will.
Adams reportedly charged with, quote, acting as an unregistered foreign agent for taking actions in his official capacity after receiving donations from foreign sources. It comes nearly a year into the federal corruption probe, focused largely on whether Adams conspired with the Turkish government.
Stinky said he's lawfully evil.
To receive illegal campaign donations. Last November, the FBI raided the home of one of his top fundraisers. They also searched the property of another aide who is a former
What's going on, everybody on TikTok? I'm on YouTube Live right now. Shout out to y'all.
Turkish Airlines executive. A few days later, agents seized Adams' electronics, including his iPad and cell phone. And in February, FBI agents raided the home of another top aide. Then in July, Adams was subpoenaed by a grand jury as part of the corruption probe. Earlier this month, agents searched the home of two more of the mayor's closest.
Yo, them Democrats are trying to put him in jail forever. He like, nah, I'm gonna help Trump with whatever he got going on. Yo, Eric Adams made a very, very good decision.
Aides. Since then, several key figures of his administration have resigned, including the police commissioner, the city hall chief counsel. New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is calling for Adams to resign. She did so hours before the indictment was reported.
AOC, oh my God. AOC said, I do not see how Mayor Adams can continue governing New York City. The flood of resignations and vacancies are threatening government function. Nonstop investigations will make it impossible to recruit and retain a qualified administration. For the good of the city, he should resign. Bruh, I see why he rolling with Trump, bro. Like, ain't no way. They all turning against it. He don't have anybody in the Democratic Party like rolling with him.
Joining me now is former FBI Assistant Director, former FBI agent and attorney, Chris Swecker. Chris, thanks very much for being here. Your reaction.
Morning. Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising considering what's been happening around him for the last year or so. I mean, there's been no secret that there's a very extensive federal investigation with very overt search warrants, subpoenas, grand jury subpoenas flying in every direction, and all the people around him seemingly in focus. So we don't know what he's charged with, but it sounds like it had something to do with donations from the Turkish government. But I could see the feds using the honest services theft of honest services wire fraud statute, the Hobbs Act extortion statute, money laundering. You know, there are any number of federal statutes that they can throw at him, tax violations, conspiracy, election laws, etc. So it looks like he's facing some very serious charges here.
Well, it certainly appears that way. And look, I have no idea whether Mayor Adams is clean or not, but I have to ask the question, why now? Okay, because I'm sure these issues were known for many years, and suddenly now they're indicting him, and suddenly now all of his administration is collapsing.
Speaking of AOC, I think she in trouble right now.
When one of these things comes to your backyard, you can resist. And what that happens over millions of people is that you generate enough friction that they cannot go as fast.
My bad. Some girl got me a Stanley Cup. And I always been like, man, I don't want no Stanley Cup. Like, what is a Stanley Cup, bro? I'm like, dudes don't be drinking out no Stanley Cups, bro. Now every time I drink, I'll be like,
fast as they want to go. Make sure that you are slowing down this system.
AOC's office advising migrants on how to avoid deportations. That was a lot.
Wow, advising migrants on how to avoid deportation. She is wild.
Live webinar. Trump border czar Tom Homan now issuing a warning to AOC.
I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they crossed. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now. Sanctuary cities, they want to step aside. We're coming. We're going to do it for you. If you don't want to make your community safer, President Trump's going to.
Congressman Carlos Jimenez from House Homeland Security joins me now, and it's great to have you on this topic because you watched that video and think, shouldn't she be watching for the safety of her constituents? She's actually advising people who broke the law to come into this country to now break the law if and when they are approached or apprehended.
Yeah, I saw that, and I found it very, very troubling that that a fellow congressperson would say that, and then tell people that when there are ICE agents, agents of the law, coming in to do their job, that somehow you need to resist and resist and resist. That's not what we do. We're lawmakers. We're not lawbreakers. And so, one of the things that I'm looking at now is, look. We also get security clearances and briefings, etc. I think now that we're gonna have to take a look at her security level and her security clearance, because
I definitely would start looking at her security clearance, because if she's helping tip off illegal immigrants, like, that's a problem. Like, why does a person like that have so much of a security clearance? Am I wrong? What do y'all think about that? If you're tipping off like people that are here illegally, I have a problem with you having security clearance. So if he wants to bring up that argument against AOC, I'm completely with it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not really mad. Like, no, she do not need like too much of a security clearance if she's doing stuff like that. Like, that's literally, in my opinion, me being an American born here, this is my opinion, that's like treason. I feel like that's a form of treason if you're doing something like that.
could she be using that information also to aid and abet illegal migrants that are trying to evade the law? That's really troubling, and I think she can get herself in hot water with this one.
Absolutely. Then, of course, you've got Sanctuary City, New York City, Mayor Eric Adams announcing today he is going to work with ICE. Let's watch.
They said she's just telling them their rights. She's tipping them off.
This.
When I sat down with him, I saw the cop in him. And he really does want to do the right thing, because he is a cop. He's a lifelong cop. And so he wants to help take public safety threats off the streets in New York, make New York safer. He also wants to help find these missing children.
People want to hijack this narrative and turn it into a political narrative where we're saying we need to have public safety. This has been an issue I was talking about before the election, spring of 2022.
Yo, he's sitting down with Tom. This is crazy, bro. This is crazy.
You look at these quotes over and over again. We need to go after these dangerous people in our street. And now I have someone that understands that narrative, and we are fighting together to get it done.
This is important, too. California Governor Gavin Newsom is now vowing to veto a bill that would block California corrections from cooperating with ICE and Trump migrant policies. So now you've got 180 for these two on these issues. For me, it feels like Tom Homan.
Greg Wilson with the super chat with the 199. He said, "These dummy cats crack me up."
And his crew have just been very forceful. He's almost forcing people to work with him because they realize if they don't, he's coming anyway.
Yeah, the job of a mayor is to protect his or her citizens, and Mayor Adams needs to.
I think he's Tom is trying to have Pam Bondi like investigate AOC. Let me see this. Let's see.
Investigate Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio went on Fox News last night to explain why he thinks the DOJ should investigate Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Let's watch.
But Tom, you got AOC out there, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman, putting out a webinar, doing a webinar to help illegals avoid, I guess, apprehension, giving tips about how to continue to remain in the country and ultimately game the system.
Did I just say that? And then people in the comments like, no, she's just telling them their rights. She's giving them tips on how to stay here. She's tipping them off.
I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impediment? I'm not an attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out.
That's a real question. Is she crossing the line?
Where is that line that they cross? So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now, but I need the AOG to opine on that. But because there's impediment, it's impediment in my opinion. I'm not a prosecutor, but we need some further guidance on that.
So to be clear, AOC's office did indeed post a webinar Wednesday on Facebook. That webinar guided migrants on what their rights were and advised them on how to deal with ICE.
It's crazy. We ain't doing that. Hold up. Let's go up here some more. Let's go to my dog, man. Let's see what he's talking about.
For angels have even been dispatched from Africa.
I doubt there'll ever be another debate between myself and Destiny, and here's why. One, I'm blacklisted. He actually made a blacklist and put me on the blacklist.
What?
So even if he says, well, now you're off the blacklist, I see no reason why I should engage with him.
Well, here you are. You're both together again to debate. I'm personally thrilled that the reality has come to this point. So welcome to both of you. I would say let's try and keep things civilized, but that's entirely down to you. It's your debate. I'll be in the middle of it.
Yeah, exactly. Deontay Kennedy is a member on the channel. He said you have no rights if you are not legal citizen. That's how I feel. You come over here illegally. What rights you got? But you see people in the comment section, they just like, well, you know, you cannot be legal, and like it's like, come on, bro, they're here illegally.
And hopefully we'll try and get through some complex issues in a constructive and interesting way. So welcome, anyway, to both of you. Let me start, Destiny. I mean, this whole idea of Donald Trump, you know, making America holy again. What is your response to that?
I feel like we have a lot of issues right now in this country. I don't know if our president being a spiritual leader is one of them. There have been things that I've said about religion, mainly in regards to philosophy and how you reconcile like religion with some philosophical positions. But I do think that right now there's kind of a crisis of meaning in the United States. I think for a lot of people, religion can serve as a good foundation of meaning. However, I don't think that Donald Trump is going to be the guy to, I guess, usher in that era of religiosity in the.
Can Deontay Kennedy get a thug life? Thug life! That is the comment of the chat right now. So you cannot have rights if you're not a citizen.
United States, at least not for any wholly religious person that I know that would, you know, look at a person and think, oh, this is like a spiritual leader that I would want.
You know, Andrew, I would have kind of agreed with that, having known Trump a long time and never seen him as a particularly religious guy. I got to say, since he got shot, he sounds a very different guy about God, about religion. You know, I've spoken to him myself several times. I mean, including once a week after he got shot, where
Pierce Morgan need to just come out and say I'm a Republican. I know he ain't really from here, but he need to go ahead and say that.
He said, you know, God must have had a plan for me. He must have saved me for a reason. He said, there can be no other explanation for why I came so close to being killed, but miraculously escaped. I do think he feels that really quite deeply.
Yeah, there's no atheist in foxholes, as the saying goes, right? So a near-death experience often will bring people closer to the divine. This is a very common thing. Doesn't surprise me that Trump narrowly, very narrowly, for a turn of his head, is still alive. I'm sure that he could definitely attribute that to divine intervention. And I'm sure even Destiny would understand why a person would do that. He's right about the fact that we do have a crisis of meaning, but he also is right, and I can concede on this point, that an office of faith with a chick speaking in tongues is cringe. And the most divisive thing on planet Earth is religion. It's the most divisive thing when it comes to, I mean, it's even more divisive than relationships. It's more divisive than sex. It's more divisive than anything is the topic of religion itself. America is already very divided on religiosity with a traditional camp and a non-traditional camp. I don't actually think that this was a great move for him to put in this office of faith, not because I do like the fact that it does signal that it's perfectly acceptable to rule through faith. I think that that's perfectly acceptable. However, I think strategically it wasn't particularly wise, as it opened up a dialogue now between the traditionalists, who were really Trump's kind of staunch supporters, saying, what the hell are you doing here? We don't want this woman, Paula, in any way or shape, form, or capacity representing Christianity on the national stage.
Yeah, I mean, Destiny, some people see Maga Christian nationalism as racist. Time magazine said the toxic blend of ethno-religious identity politics was reflected in the prayers and religious symbols participants carried at the US Capitol insurrection on January the 6th, 2021, and it's become central to the trajectory of the contemporary MAGA Republican Party. Would you agree with that? Piers Morgan Uncensored is now proudly independent. If you like the show, we ask for only one thing. Subscribe on YouTube and follow Piers Morgan Uncensored on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Now let's get straight to the point. Support for today's show comes...
Piers Morgan is funny, man.
I think it's I don't think anybody can disagree that there is like a section of MAGA or far right people that are racist in the United States. But I would say that this is a small section, and I don't think that it's worth focusing on. I think that progressives especially have this tendency to over exaggerate. I mean, we were all on the internet when people were hunting every single person who made the OK symbol and saying that they were like some kind of closet Nazi or whatever during the Rittenhouse era. So, I mean, there are going to be racist people everywhere. But if you want to attack MAGA and you want to do it through the lens of their racist white supremacists or whatever, I mean, most people, I mean, obviously MAGA is not going to care for a variety of reasons, and they shouldn't. And even most people that are kind of like looking from the center or even from the center left are going to be like, well, I don't really know if I feel this way. Like MAGA kind of seems more colorful than they even have been in the past in terms of conservative movements. You could just look online and see that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of those types of attacks towards that, I guess, ideology, towards that camp.
You're sounding very reasonable today, Destiny. You're right.
I'm a very reasonable person, Peter.
Well, that is.
He try not to lose his viewership because he sees so many people's ratings suffering when they're like super ultra left. That's what it is.
I mean, he is right. There are better avenues for which to attack the MAGA movement that would actually be more effective for progressives. Them utilizing this type of attack actually didn't do them very much in the way of good in this last election cycle. And you saw this from large progressive commentators, and this is all they did. Hassan Piker, among many others in the political commentary world, Bosch, other guys like this, they hyper focus on the racial dynamic issues. And Destiny is right. MAGA doesn't care. And most of the supporters of Trump don't care. And most Republicans at this point don't care because it's so overused that essentially if you overuse a phrase like this or these kinds of talking points too much, their effectiveness just basically gets destroyed.
So let's move from making America holy again.
Idaho has a dissenting opinion, said this man is ruining the country and you people are to blame. Stop hiding from it and take responsibility. Are you talking about Donald Trump? How is he ruining the country from stopping overspending and calling out corruption in our government and having Elon Musk go through the Treasury Department with a fine-tooth comb and a forensic audit and reveal to the American people exactly what's going on? Like, how is he a terrible president for that? And he outlawed plastic straw, not plastic, but paper straws. So I'm not mad. Like, bro, like when you drinking a soda and it's a paper straw, it's terrible. Trump outlawed that. So what do you mean, man? What are you talking about? And hey, I welcome Hey, Idaho, like if you have like a dissenting opinion, something, I welcome it. But how is he destroying America? Because he didn't like the high interest rates that we had. We had like high interest rates under the Biden-Harris administration. I don't think Trump liked that. So how did he I don't understand what you're saying.
Again,
how is he bad for the country?
To making America healthy again. I mean, Destiny,
he's trying to make America healthy again. He got RFK as the head of the FDA. He got approved or confirmed. So it's like, and then FDA is saying that governments are linked to like vaccinating people. This is what RFK said. Now, I mean, he's the head of the RFK, the head of the FDA, so we can talk about him now. So it's like, how is this like terrible administration? It looked like the Avengers to me. He got Elon Musk like on board, Department of Government Efficiency. Patel wants to shut down certain departments in the FBI that's not like working for the people. And he wants to, figure out what the corruption is that's going on in the FBI. How was that bad? Like, Trump wants to release the JFK documents and the Martin Luther King documents. How is this terrible for our country to be a transparent government? And then him sitting there signing executive orders in front of us. How is he bad for the country if he's literally sitting in front of us signing executive orders and telling us what the executive orders are in front of us? Like, I've never seen Biden Harris do anything like this. Like, if something was going on in the news about Biden, right? Biden would take like 3 weeks to even have a person who is the White House press secretary say something about it. Every time something comes up, you see our, White House press secretary coming forward now and just talking about it, debunking everything. Even Trump will say something immediately, do an interview immediately. And like, why is he in the middle of doing something, address something as a current topic while he's like in the middle of doing something else and debunking everything, what fake news is putting out there? So I'm trying to figure out, when you guys are saying Trump is destroying the country, and this is me being completely real, please tell me, how is he destroying the country? Because I cannot see it. Now, when I was looking at the Biden-Harris administration, I felt like they didn't have our best interest at heart at all. You know what I mean? So I would like the Avengers to be in there to overhaul this. You got Elon Musk talking about, not only is he investigating or trying to figure out what is going on with our Treasury Department, and Trump is going to send him to do a forensic audit against the military to see what's going on with the spending. Trump is going to be looking into the IRS. The IRS has been looking into Americans. Didn't Biden, like, if you make over $600, they were using AI to go through your bank accounts to figure out what you were like what's going on with their money? Like, didn't they like do that? They just recently got caught doing that. So how is that better for America versus what Trump is doing? Do you know that in Tennessee, 11,000 IRS workers are now on, like, wondering if they're going to lose their jobs? Because they, you know, that's what they're talking about in the IRS bill. Like, they might like lose their jobs in Tennessee. So 11,000 of them. So they're taking like other jobs like now. So it's like, I mean, he's trying to investigate the IRS. Like, why are y'all like, why is that bad? When have you ever heard of a government investing in an entity that's extorting money out of Americans? Like, why is that bad? Why is Elizabeth Warren like trying to stop USAID that's operating with impunity, doing whatever they want to do? Why is she trying to stop that if she's for the people? And we're seeing all this waste going out the window. That was going on during the Biden-Harris administration. They didn't try to stop any of that. So how is Biden-Harris better than what Joe Biden is doing? Like, than Trump was doing? Can somebody like please explain that to me? Because that makes no sense to me. Somebody's literally sitting here showing you that they're like fixing America in front of your face. Is it the Stockholm syndrome? You know what I mean? Like, you're held by your captors and they just treat you so bad, you start to empathize with them. Do you like that Zelensky was just getting all of our money? What about the 177 billion, 100 billion of it missing? Does that not bother you guys of what's been going on? And then now Elon Musk, right, wants to investigate politicians who make like a certain amount of money that are worth like millions of dollars now. He wants to investigate that. He's posted that on his Twitter yesterday or 2 days ago. And people are going crazy about it. And Elizabeth Warren, like, they want her investigated because she makes like 200-some thousand a year in office of taxpayer money, right? But she's worth $12 million. How's she worth $12 million? How is that like helping our country? How is a Hunter Biden pardon helping our country? Can somebody tell me that? Because I don't understand. Like, because a Hunter Biden like laptop, the information that's floating around on Twitter, I'm not going to get into on here. It looks very strange. And if anybody else was doing stuff like that, they'd be locked up. But how is a Hunter Biden pardon good for our country? How is a Dr. Fauci pardon good for our country? Can somebody tell me that? How is pardoning a war hawk, Liz Cheney, how is that good for our country? And I'm just talking to the person that thinks like Donald Trump is bad for the country. How was Eric Adams given $350 a week in food vouchers to illegal immigrants, $1,400 a month in food vouchers to illegal immigrants? How was that good for our country? Trump comes into the door, Eric Adams stops that. And now he wants to play ball with Donald Trump. How was Donald Trump bad for our country? Like, how would you feel living in New York City and seeing that? Like, you got like high rent. Y'all got like rent control. You're paying like crazy amounts of money for rent to live in tenements. And you know what I mean? Like, very, very non-spatial conditions, and you paying like $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month, and then you see illegal immigrants getting put up in like nice resorts and $90 million, I think $80 or $90 million from U.S. taxpayers are paying for that. And then you got homeless people out on the street. There's a video on Twitter. I can't play it on here. Somebody is like no longer with us that was just like on the street and the cops was around them and they put a sheet over them. Meanwhile, you got illegal immigrants, like up in nice hotels funded by taxpayers. How is that better for our country than what Trump is doing? How is it better for our country? North Carolina, with Hurricane Helene, everybody was losing like their homes and stuff like that. How is it better for our country to like stop people from going down there to help people? How was that better? Why did they stop Elon Musk from providing Starlink internet services for people that were down there? Why did they stop that? How was that good for our country? And then when the people were living in tents, right? And then JD Vance went up down there, you know, and then he put those people up in apartments, furnished apartments. I think that was good for our country. Right? Or what, Gavin Newsom wouldn't cut on the water, and, you know, they were just worried about the Palisades. They didn't care about everybody else, and Trump went over there. If you want federal funding, you're going to have to cut the water on. That was good for California. It looked like Gavin Newsom is more concerned with, like, you know, no voter ID state, like maintaining that, not going along with what Tom wants to do with, you know, deporting illegal immigrants. I don't think that's good for our country. And I don't mean to like go in on your comment, right? But it's like when I see stuff like that, it's like, how did anything that the Biden-Harris administration do, how was that better? And shout out to TikTok. I seen that. Shout out to y'all, Thug Life. You know what I'm saying? Somebody, you know, gave me a donation. I appreciate that. So like, I really don't know. Like, I'm in a loss for words when I'm talking to people. You're like, oh, well, Biden Harris. And then you ask, so like, you know, now what you see a lot of, because you didn't see this when Biden was president, right? You see a lot of people who are MAGA, who are Republicans, some people who are turning Republican, a lot of them, right? They're constantly posting all day long. They're making YouTube videos, TikToks, they're tweeting, they're excited about the administration. Everybody across the board who are Republican are legitimately excited and showing you all of these different things that Trump is passing and he's trying to do. Right? How come Democrats didn't do that? Like when the Biden-Harris administration regime was here, like, you know, like when interest rates were like really high, it didn't matter if you had an 800 credit score, you still couldn't afford a house, you couldn't afford it. Y'all wasn't happy. A lot of y'all was complaining of food prices. My internet might cut out because it's like storming here in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a big storm. So I might have to put this on members only like after it cuts out. But like y'all wasn't happy. Y'all had a problem with that. So now Republicans are super excited. They're happy. They're like, oh, well, this is getting passed. This is getting done. They're cutting government spending. We no longer have to send money overseas for a Sesame Street show. We no longer have to send $37,000 to Gaza for condoms. We no longer have to send all of this money for them to make comic books. We no longer have to give Princeton University $750,000 for, I think it was million, actually, like 750 million. It was something crazy for them to do research in Africa to look at diversity in Africa. Like, we no longer have to do all of this stuff. People are excited, like, that the government is saving money. You know why they're excited? Because people are like, when I get old, I want to be able to have Social Security. It's expensive now. I could just imagine when I get ready to retire, I'm going to have one thing you're more than likely going to have is health problems. It's going to happen. The older you get, something going to go wrong. You may start having high blood pressure. You're going to forget to take your high blood pressure pill. Something going to happen to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm 41 years old now. Well, 40 years old now. And I'll be forgetting everything. I'll be, where my keys at? Imagine when you get older and you got an appeal you really got to take and you can't remember nothing. Forgetting your passwords, forgetting all this. Yeah, I might need Social Security when I get a little. I want it to be there. So if I got a government administration right now that's trying to save money and save everything, why am I against that? Why is that bad? If I got a president of the United States that's talking about, oh, I want to lower taxes, on the middle class, right? Oh, I want to make sure there's no taxes on tips. I want to make sure there's no taxes on overtime. Because one of the reasons why my job be calling me, asking me to do overtime, I will not do it. Shout out to them Thug Life. I won't do it because I don't want to be working and having a lot of that money go to the taxes. What's the point of me working and doing all that if that's what's going to happen? And I guarantee you, if they actually did pass that no tax on overtime, I'll be at work grinding, getting the money. You see what I'm saying? Maybe I wouldn't have to have so many side hustles. You know what I'm saying? But then you got Elon Musk sitting up there in the Oval Office with Trump. He's talking about, the way to really reduce interest rates and that way things get a lot better and bring costs down and stuff like that for the American people. We got to start saving money. And if we can get $1 trillion saved through the American government by next year, the interest rates will come down naturally. You don't have to do what Ben Bernanke did when he was running the Federal Reserve, the quantitative easing and all. You ain't really got to do that. And they know talking to Jerome Powell right now is kind of a lost cause. We got to save America money and then go to Congress and be like, all right, so now we want to do no taxes on overtime. And then Congress and everybody can look at it yeah, well, this ain't really going to cost the government that much money. Yeah, we could do that. Can't just go to them now with it. You got to figure out a plan. Right? And right now it looks like Trump has figuring out a plan. You know what Biden-Harris plan was? To help Zelensky. That's what the plan looked like to me. You know what I'm saying? It's to help. They had a battery in Zelensky's back and he did whatever they told him to do. And they were giving him money to keep this Russia war going so that, Russia and Ukraine, people end up passing away in wars, right? And so wearing down the military, wearing it down, and then destabilizing their, Russia going to war, whatever, which they started, Thug Life, you know what I'm saying? Destabilizing their economy. Let's keep that going. Let's authorize Ukraine to launch long-range missiles into Russia. That's what was going on. Trump is no, we want to stop the wars. Oh, MSNBC. Trump is trying to bend the knee to Vladimir Putin. How is he trying to bend the knee? He's trying to save hundreds of thousands of lives. And if I can remember correct, when Trump was elected, Vladimir Putin said he wanted to talk to Trump. So how are the liberals turning that around, saying that Trump is trying to bend the knee to Vladimir Putin? What are y'all talking about? Zelensky wasn't even invited to the inauguration. I love that. And now Trump is talking about, we're not about to just be sending people money no more like they've been doing in the previous administration and getting nothing from it. We want minerals, or the money is going out in loans because we got a national debt we got to try to pay down. Why are we in the deficit with Canada for $200 billion? How does that make sense? So when I got a president talking like that, I'm riding with him. All the way. That's how I feel about it. Somebody said, I love it that Trump is messing with the IRS. You see what I'm saying? I just don't know. I don't get it, man. So it's even this guy, the ultra liberal to the left, right? He cannot even argue valid points for the Liberal Party anymore. And during the Harris and Trump campaign, he was one of the main ones on Kamala Harris's side. Now he's starting to make a little bit more sense. He knows the argument for Harris never made sense. American people didn't know her. We didn't appoint her. We didn't feel like she was the person that should have been running. How'd she even get the ticket to run? Then now you got the CBS interview that's coming out, right? Very interesting interview. The whole interview came out unedited. She didn't know what she was talking about. Did you see it? The unedited interview? Interesting. Y'all think she should have been a person as the president of the United States? She's more of the same. She's a puppet. Now you got a straight shooting president and tell you what it is, and y'all don't know how to react. He call you fake to your face. He said you a horrible person to your face. I don't like the questioning. I ain't talking to you. To your face. I don't think this is the interest of American people. You shouldn't know this. This is something that, you know, is classified. I'd rather you tell me that than smoke and mirrors. But mostly everything, he tells you straight up what it is. And I rock with that.
Divisive character. I've got to say about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I'd heard all the stuff about him. So the first time I interviewed him,
y'all always say, "What if a Kennedy was over the FDA? What if a Kennedy had power over it? Well, Trump puts him in power, and now y'all got a problem with Trump and Kennedy? Like, are you crazy?"
I was quite combative with him, and I was pretty charmed by him and quite impressed by him, I've got to say. And I've interviewed him 4 or 5 times since, and I really don't think we've got the devil here at the head of the health service. I think we've got a guy who has a very curious mind, constantly asking questions, which probably need to be asked about the nation's health. He's also a fine figure of a guy.
And look, somebody's super emotional in the comments. Oh, he's slow. Well, I just rattled off a lot of facts that's happened within the past month. Can you rattle off anything besides emotions and ad hominem attacks? You probably can't do that. That's what the route liberals are taking now. Oh, well, Trump just conceded and allowed Elon Musk to run the country. Like, how does that even make sense? You literally can't say anything because he's completed probably about 97% of his campaign promises in less than a month. Hasn't even been a month yet. On February 18th is my birthday. That will be a month since he's been in office. Like, really been hitting the ground running. Running. So I don't want to hear this, bro. Y'all can't know.
70, who seems to practice what he preaches. Are you in favor or against him?
Absolutely against him. I think that there's this talking strategy.
I mean, actually, the inauguration was the 20th, but to me, Doug life. He started the marketing a little bit early. But I'm glad that AOC. She could possibly be investigated. I like that.
That people like RFK do that drives me insane, and apparently it works for people like you, where somebody will say something that sounds
but it's cool for y'all, for the January 6th committee to have lost all of the paperwork. Y'all remember when it was a big deal with Hillary Clinton allegedly deleting emails? That was alleged, all of that. Remember that was a big deal. So January 6th committee, the committee can lose all type of information and then they get a pardon. Y'all don't see nothing wrong with that? It's crazy.
Space reasonable, but if you think about it for 2 seconds, it's the dumbest thing ever. The idea of well, we need to be examining the safety of these pharmaceuticals.
Shout out to Stephen Patterson. Subscribe to the channel if y'all can.
It's we need to look at the data, and it's well, yeah, of course.
Somebody said, Hyperboy, were you always a Trump fan? I voted for Obama. I'm not from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. So in Cleveland, it's Democratic, you know what I'm saying? So I was indoctrinated to believe all the Democratic stuff, right? So I'm yo, I'm voting for Kerry, I'm voting for Obama, you know what I'm saying? All that. So I did vote for Obama, which I think the good thing that came out of the Obama administration was part of the healthcare reform thing, the pre-existing condition thing. That was a good thing, but it was a whole lot of bad, right? And I started to see a lot of bad with him. Bill HR 347, the anti-protest bill, a lot of stuff that was going on with Obama. I'm yo, what? And he would always try to pass something around a drinking holiday. And so I'm yo, you got to watch Obama. The NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, he put the American can be detained indefinitely without habeas corpus and putting that in there. I was just yo! Yo, what is Obama doing? So, it's things I liked about him, but then it was things, it was just I think at the end of his term, I think the GDP of America was all right. right? And I think Trump inherited some of that, but I think he maintained. And the only thing I think he really went in deficit was when COVID hit. Other than that, like, I think he did a really good job. Interest rates was good. And he tried to even, like, when COVID hit and everybody was in a panic due to the media and everything, right? So, and everybody's in panic. What did Trump say? Oh, take vitamin C, take, you know what I'm saying, wear a mask if you won't. You know what I'm saying? Take hydrochloroquine, you know what I mean? Like, all of that. And then he got COVID, and then he came, he did his speech, he was just sniffling. You know what I'm saying? And then he was just like, yo, we're not going to shut down America. We're going to keep running. Then Biden comes in and shuts down the whole country. So then Biden put us all in jail for a year. All the mom and pop stores went out of business. Remember when Walmart used to be 24/7, right? You know why they're not 24/7 no more? Because all the small businesses that were around that barely was making it, now they're no longer. So there's no sense of staying open 24 hours. The thing was before, what a lot of, you know, stores would do that is that, oh, when people are up at night before they go to work, they might like go to the store and pick up what they need, right? Like within a 24-hour like store, right? And that way we don't have to run the risk of losing that sale to a mom and pop store, you know, like during the day. So now that the mom and pop stores are no longer here, you know, in a lot of different areas, it's just like big businesses that made it, right? So they don't have to stay open 24 hours now. They like close at like 11. What you gonna do about it? Like, you gotta wait till the next day, and then you're gonna have to go to Walmart or Target or whatever the next day. So it's just, you know, like a lot of small businesses shut down. There's a lot of craziness under the Biden-Harris administration. My mom died of cancer during the Biden-Harris administration. I couldn't, like, you know, I had to make a decision, bring her home, you know what I'm saying, or to have her continue to be treated like where she was, but I couldn't contact because of COVID and all that. That's crazy. You know what I mean? The restrictions on facilities and stuff, like, it's insane. She ended up dying. You know, and like, I will never forget that. You know, so, I mean, and I understand, like, you know, it was a panic, people didn't really know what's going on, but then you start finding out all this stuff that RFK and stuff I can't even say on here that's been revealing, and you're like, what? The Democrats were doing what? It's crazy. Like, no, I can't roll with that. I can't rock with that. You know what I mean? Like, I will never forget what the Biden and Harris administration put me through. Then the high cost of food, and like, they didn't want to do nothing about it. And then you seeing all these other countries getting our money. And it's like, and I'm looking at people that support them like, y'all don't care about none of this. Y'all ain't seeing nothing that's going on. Complaining about they got to put gas in their car, how expensive everything. Oil was expensive. Like, because interest rates went through the roof. Like, if you owned a home, you needed to get a renovation or something done to your house. Like, you know, like, contractors were trying to charge you crazy amounts of money because the price of lumber went crazy. Like, bruh, it was wild, wild west during the Biden-Harris administration, in my opinion. And y'all didn't care about none of that. Y'all just like, oh, it's great. Like, I can't rock with it. I can't, like, bro, like, when Trump was, like, his presidency, I felt like, yo, if you can't give 40 acres and a mule, right, give people a fighting chance. I felt like, in my personal opinion, I had a fighting chance in America. I had money, you know what I'm saying, investing in the stock market, like wowing, you know what I mean, doing everything right. I feel like I had a fighting chance. I bought a house. When I bought my house, 4.125 interest rate. Bought a house. If I had to buy a house under the Biden and Harris administration, I'd be looking at a 7-something% interest rate on a home. And you know what happened, right? And this is like something that people don't talk about. Remember when COVID hit, right? And then people were like working from home. So people didn't want to go back to the actual, like the office buildings, right? And so the office buildings are buildings, right? So there's like companies that own buildings, right? So when these companies started realizing we can get the employees can do a lot of work at home, we don't need to be renting this office space for no reason, right? So a lot of these people that own buildings, they lost leases. So they started losing money. They couldn't fill the buildings up with different companies. So after taking those losses, a lot of them regrouped. They sold off buildings and stuff like that, and they took their capital and they start buying up houses, right? And this is why people are having a problem in like buying homes and getting a house bought from under them from a company. Because now they switch to, okay, we ain't gonna really be investing too much in buildings and all of this no more, or strip malls and all this. No, we're gonna be buying homes and making people renters forever. That's the best leaser. You see what I'm saying? So all of this is happening now. So like when I look at the Biden-Harris administration, in my opinion, I look at it as like one of the worst times in America, in my opinion. And none of you guys were out here super rallying for Biden like, yeah, this is great. I ain't see none of that. Because it wasn't nothing really to be happy about. So I don't know, just my opinion, man.
How do you think these things get passed, or what do you think all the research is for? Like, people like RFK will just say these things that sound good. Like, shouldn't we be doing research on long-term outcomes of, you know, XYZ drug? And it's like, yeah, we should be. And it's like, okay, well, yeah.
Subscribe to the channel if you can. We're trying to get 119,000 subscribers. I see people watching. I appreciate y'all.
We do that. Of course we do. The FDA has a pretty good track record, all considered.
Andrew?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that Kennedy's as fine a choice as anybody. It's not like these positions have been filled by people in the past who are incredible at them. Not even on the progressive side, often moving into trans issues, trans healthcare, which was a big loser for progressives. I think ultimately, I don't see any problem with this guy getting in there. I don't think he's going to do anything harmful, and I don't really see any problem with them moving into these various agencies and trying to do various reforms. I don't even actually see why progressives would be upset by that. So Destiny might say, well, there's things that he says that are already being done, so he's going to go in and be somewhat redundant. But it's like, if you already like those systems and he's already going in to do the systems, I don't even see why that would be a problem.
Right, I mean, and Destiny, what I would say is that it always strikes me, if you ever see pictures from, say, Times Square or Trafalgar Square in London or Sydney or whatever it may be from the 20s, right? What's the one thing we all notice immediately if you think about it?
Then it'd be like the Democrats in the comments. Like, they don't even super chat. They used to getting everything for free. And I'd be like, the Republican responding to them. It's like, bro, this video already has like 50,000 views on it. Like, when I talk about politics, a lot of times I'm doing 100,000 views. I'm doing you a favor. Criticize me, fine. You know what I'm saying? Or criticize the president, fine. You know, but if you want me to read it, at least super chat.
There's no fat people.
Black and white?
Well, there's no fat people, right? They just didn't seem to exist. Literally, they barely existed because people were far more mobile. They had far better diets to a large degree.
Stephen Patterson is a subscriber, right? And I do read subscribers like posts. Stephen Patterson said, "I'm so proud of America for voting smart. Thank you, Trump, for all you are doing." And then Barr said, "Watch an interview with Callie Means, MD, if you want your socks knocked off."
And none of the processed crap had come into to ruin their lives. None of the sort of, television, internet and stuff, which makes people sit around all day. So very different way of living. And it really strikes me, if you look at those pictures today to then.
Yeah, he's talking to Andrew.
The world, particularly in the sort of developed world, like America, like large swathes of Europe, we've just got very fat and unhealthy. And if all that he achieves
and I got to be real, I got to watch myself, man. I had like 5 BLTs in like 2 days. I need to chill out. We gotta make America healthy again.
His term as health secretary is getting Americans to really think about that more. Wouldn't that be a good thing?
I mean, I feel like he can luck his way into a couple of okay positions, but the problem is going to be what the focus is. And the problem is that the focus in some ways, I think, is kind of contrary to whatever MAGA believes in, although it's hard to know at any point in time what MAGA believes in. But for instance, I think that probably the number one thing that you could do to increase the overall health of Americans would be to bring down our average weight. And the best way to do that probably would be to find ways to restrict the ultra processed foods, the stuff that's like super high in sugar, whether that's...
Oh, wow. But the Democrats are never going to do that because they didn't do it while they were in office. That's why you can look at like Coca-Cola and they have like ungodly amounts of sugar and everything. Yeah, I mean, but RFK might be able to do it.
Through additional labeling, or whether that's through taxes on ultra processed food or sugar. Either of those, I think, would be tremendously in a good direction. However, both of those things are what? An increase in taxes and an increase in bureaucracy. I don't know if MAGA is in favor of either of those things. If that was the sole focus of RFK, I would be more okay with it. But it's like this obsession with like the fluoride in the water and red dye number 3 and the heavy metal microplastics in our ball sacks and everything else. And these things are very like, they're worth looking at, but they're on the peripheral, they're on the edge.
What if he's right? I mean, the reason I say what if he's right is I remember through COVID, for example, all sorts of definitive statements from doctors and scientists, which often turned out to be complete baloney. You know, what if he's actually right about this stuff?
He can be right. So first of all, most of the statements that were said by the people on the other side were completely and totally incorrect relating to COVID and vaccines. There were no mass deaths. There were no mass injuries, vaccine injuries. There were no microchips planted in us. There were no permanent vaccine passports. There still isn't any proof that it was created in a laboratory. Like all of those things that are not being correct. But insofar as him being right, I'm saying that like it might be the case that microplastics or red dye number whatever could be bad for us or could even be carcinogenic, maybe. But these are like 2%, 3% issues. Like 80% is if you could bring people's weight down on average.
Bro, like he said, oh, it's only 2-3% issue. Like, don't we want to get rid of that 2 or 3% issue of red dye number 3? Red 40? Like, don't we want to get rid of that? Like, if it can, bro, if all of these other countries, right, that have a lower like cancer rate, don't we want to kind of like be like that a little bit? Democrats was like, no, it's only like a little bit of percent. No, get rid of it. It's ridiculous.
By helping our diets, it would be so much more impactful. And I don't see how you do that without increasing the bureaucracy, because you have to be anti-capitalist a little bit. You've got to start taxing.
He said, I don't see how you can do that besides increasing bureaucracy. Democrats are trying to get rid of American, like, common sense.
Certain things, you've got to target certain types of foods in order to change people's food consumption habits.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, it's a fine line, isn't it, between being relentlessly critical of health institutions.
No, red dye number 3 was outlawed recently, but they've known for 35 or 36 years, 34, 35 or 36 years that it's, you know, there's a possibility it could cause cancer, but it was just recently outlawed. So somebody said that was outlawed 30 years ago. Like, no, it wasn't.
And accepted norms and science and so on.
And Millimeter said cola is banned other places. Like, bro, and then like Diet Coke is terrible for you. America's like, drink up. It's crazy, bro. Like, they wanted it. I'm not gonna say America wants us to be sick, but it kind of feels like it, right?
And getting to a place where
then you see the Make Children Healthy Again and Make America Healthy Again committee that Trump is putting together, right? And I think he said within 30 days he wants them to put something to his office, right, to show him progress of what they're doing. So he's saying that he doesn't want children to, like, you know, because a lot of kids are like getting put on like Ritalin and like all this different type of stuff. He said he don't want kids to just be getting stuff like that all the time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he wants like a better thing than like everybody to be on like anxiety medicines and benzodiazepines and all. Like, he just literally just dropped that. Like, we read it. What was it? Yesterday or the day before yesterday, we read it. And so that's going to be an impact or a hit to the pharmaceutical industry. So they're not going to like that. Make America Healthy Again. And then now you got RFK at the head of the FDA. This is big. People don't understand how big this is. We are living in historic times, watching a president. We have never seen nothing like this before. Like when John Kennedy, you know what I mean? JFK. People thought he was going to do what Trump is doing. And look what happened. His wig got split. And so now you got Trump, and somebody tried it. You know what I'm saying? But he actually gets in and he's doing it. So how you going to bribe somebody that's worth like $6.5 billion? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, Trump already got everything. Now he wants to leave not only a legacy of being one of the greatest presidents of all time. You know what I'm saying? I think he wants to leave his grandkids in a country that is still solvent. A country that's still good. You know what I mean? He doesn't want his kids to be left in a country that is ran by corruption. So I mean, I rock with him, bro.
You're not careful.
He had somebody say it's like Trump equals John Wick. He's like the John Wick of the government, bro. He's sniping everybody, bro. He got the IRS on edge. 11,000. There's a rumor that 11,000 IRS agents in Tennessee are worried that they may lose their jobs. Ain't this something that y'all always wanted?
Public confidence in all of those bodies collapses, and then you start to have serious health issues.
Yeah, that's true. And this is part of the polarization in the United States. Destiny brings up this point. He says, well, these are kind of tangential issues, microplastics, things like this. But the truth is, if we have states that have done restrictions on things like this, they've restricted sugars, they've restricted some processed foods. It does very little to mitigate the problem. I'm reminded of an article I read not too long ago about Japan, where the Japanese don't have the same epidemic when it comes to obesity that we have here. The shout
out to Japan. I'm supposed to go May 25th through June 8th to Japan.
Who was there doing the article made a great point. She said she thought the kids there were trolling when they said their favorite food was broccoli, celery, things like this. But when it was investigated, it turns out they were taught that those are the good foods to eat and nothing else is the good food to eat. So in other words, there's national propaganda around the idea of health and things like this. Instead of moving towards restrictions like Destiny's proposing, I would move more towards national propaganda. But progressives are very wary about moving towards propaganda. I don't know why, even though now propaganda itself has a negative connotation. I'm just saying the word propaganda because people understand what it means, right? Like a national campaign for something like this could be very effective the same way they do it there. What's not effective, though, is restrictions. That doesn't seem to do very much. At least it has not so far.
I also think parental responsibility has got to be massively reinforced. Just check.
VY said that is great news. Professor of Logic said, I'd like to be able to have an app and choose where my taxes go. Gut said, firing IRS employees during tax season, what a genius move. And then Rock on YT said, yeah, I think it is a genius move, actually. I mean, I'm the type of person, I got to pay in. Like, I make a note, I got to pay in. And then Rock on YT83 said, they're going to make us pay. Craig Wilson said, yes, fire the IRS agents. Martin said, hey, I'm from just east of Cleveland. Didn't know you were local. No, I don't live in Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland, though. And then Mills said, get rid of IRS. And then Rock On said, y'all know how the IRS get mad. Barr said, government jobs are forever beanies way about the working poor, never will retire. Battle Bull said, no vanity here, but take out the plastic surgeries items. Change up that plastic surgery is killing people, bro. Like, food is killing people way more than plastic surgery. Plastic surgery is like, rare. Like, you know what I mean? Not rare, but like, that's the super special type of thing. MC15 said, they talking about plastic surgery. Gut said, promote natural beauty. Natural is always
generally right. It's all very well.
Well, that would be part of a national campaign, though. In order to do that,
no, I agree. But you do actually, like when I see some of the food that parents give their kids, not just in America, but we have it in the UK as well. We've got a massive obesity problem here, and it's like, where's the parental responsibility to stop shoving horrible?
Yeah, but then we have to look at other things progressives don't want to look at, like, alternative family units, single motherhood, the intact family, things like this, which all feed into the idea of how kids are even nourished at home. Like, these are all interconnected things. And it's not so fun then if you're running a national campaign to say, father should stay in the home. That's good for the family. That's
Turn to the Trump-Elon Oval Office presser. We've got a shot of this.
Some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes. I'm not sure.
I might have to go soon because the likes are kind of slowing up, and so they're trying to slow the video down. You know what I'm saying? So if y'all can like double tap the screen and all of that and keep it going, but they're trying to slow the video down. I think I mentioned RFK too much or something. I don't know.
We should be sending $50 million worth of condoms to anywhere, frankly. I'm not sure that's...
He said $50 million worth of condoms. Like, what?
Turn to the Trump-Elon Oval Office presser. We've got a shot of this.
Some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes. I'm not sure we should be sending $50 million worth of condoms to anywhere, frankly. I'm not sure that's something Americans would be really excited about. And that is really an enormous number of condoms, if you think about it.
Destiny, what did you make of that? Obviously, it's very unusual. You've got the richest man in America standing next to the President of the United States in the Oval Office by the Resolute desk. He's got his kid with him who's picking his nose. It's all a bit random and weird and surreal. However, I did watch it all, and I kept thinking to myself, if I was an average American watching this, hearing what Elon Musk is doing to federal overspending, I'd be cheering him on. I'd be all in favor of this.
Yo, what's up with JD Vance calling out everybody? Hold on, let me see. JD Vance. Look this up.
Yeah, unfortunately, the average American, I guess, or the average person has no idea how government works or functions. And I guess weird and surreal is just the way to describe now, or illegal, I guess, is the way to describe that this administration has decided to address programs that they don't like. If you want to cut down on waste, fraud, and abuse, I don't think anybody would necessarily have a problem.
Hold on, I gotta see this because a lot of people sent this to me other day. Have y'all seen that? They said JD Vance was calling people out. Let's see.
Of the United States, Mr. JD Vance, who was here last year as senator. To talk about today is, of course, our shared values. And, you know, it's great to be back in Germany. As you heard earlier, I was here last year as United States Senator. I saw Foreign Secretary David Lammy and joked that both of us last year had different jobs than we have now. But now it's time for all of our countries, for all of us who have been fortunate enough to be given political power by our respective peoples, to use it wisely to improve their lives. And I want to say that, you know, I was fortunate in my time here to spend some time outside the walls of this conference over the last 24 hours. And I've been so impressed by the hospitality of the people, even as, of course, as they're reeling from yesterday's horrendous attack. And the first time I was ever in Munich was with my wife, actually, who's here with me today, on a personal trip. And I've always loved the city of Munich, and I've always loved its people. And I just want to say that we're very moved, and our thoughts and prayers are with Munich and everybody affected by the evil inflicted on this beautiful community. We're thinking about you.
Professor of Logic is a subscriber. He said JD Vance told Europe to step up on defense and stop stifling free speech. Ooh. Is this a speech he said that?
Praying for you.
Yo, he got 1 million views on this.
And we will certainly be rooting for you in the days and weeks to come. Now, I hope that's not the last bit of applause that I get, but we gather at this conference, of course, to discuss security, and normally we mean threats to our external security. I see many great military leaders gathered here today. But while the Trump administration is very concerned with European security and believes that we can come to a reasonable settlement between Russia and Ukraine, and we also believe that it's important in the coming years for Europe to step up in a big way to provide for its own defense, the threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values, values shared with the United States of America. Now, I was struck that a former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too. Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values.
Professor of Logic said Europeans didn't like it one bit. Marcia said J.D. Vance calling out the European Union to spend their money for their own protection and to quit screaming for our troops to come to their rescue. No, he did not. Did he say that? Yo.
Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard. And I say ourselves because I fundamentally believe that we are on the same team. We must do more than talk about democratic values. We must live them. Now, within living memory of many of you in this room, the Cold War positioned defenders of democracy against much more tyrannical forces on this continent. And consider the side in that fight that censored dissidents, that closed churches, that canceled elections. Were they the good guys? Certainly not. And thank God they lost the Cold War. They lost because they neither valued nor respected all of the extraordinary blessings of liberty. The freedom to surprise, to make mistakes, to invent, to build. As it turns out, you can't mandate innovation or creativity, just as you can't force people what to think, what to feel, or what to believe. And we believe those things are certainly connected. And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny.
Yo, he is scolding them. Talk crazy to them, J.D. Vance. Yo. Bro, America ain't playing with these people, bro. Miller said America needs to watch ourselves. No, we need to talk crazy. We've been being taken advantage of for too long. They need us, depend on us. No, we can say whatever we want to say. This is how you're supposed to handle a conference. If we're the superpowers and we're the American authority, we should act like it. Period. He ain't saying nothing wrong. There should be people are entitled to believe, think, feel how they want, and we want to set a precedent and a standard on everybody else. But who are we if we're not allowing people to have these freedoms of expression and they're being policed? Like, you see what I'm saying? A restricted internet issues, and like, this is crazy for him to be talking like this. He's gonna be the president of the United States. I'm telling y'all. He is going to be the president, bro. We are looking at the future president right now.
On the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own.
Bro, he is like professionally going off on them. I've never seen nothing like this before. Shout out to JD Vance.
After British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. And in the interest of comedy, my friends, but also in the interest of truth, I will admit that sometimes the loudest voices for censorship have come not from within Europe, but from within my own country, where the prior administration...
Yeah, hey, Guts is in the comments, is a subscriber, said banning prayer from an abortion clinic. Are they crazy? Yeah, bro, that's good.
Threatened and bullied social media.
Miller said they went crazy. Professor of Logic said, yeah, Europe has turned into 1984. Yo, he wildin'. They need to hear this. They do need to hear this.
For censorship.
I'm telling y'all, look, can I say something? The reason why we need to save America, like there's some things that other countries get right that we may not get right, but there's a lot of things we get right that other countries don't get right, right? One thing that we have to preserve is freedom of speech. A lot of places do not have that. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, you gotta like fight for that. So when you see like Joe Biden, Kamala Harris administration, right? When you see them going after TikTok, that is a problem. Like that's the start of a problem. And they want to go after your guns. So like if they went out after your blinks, right? Bleep, 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 pew pews. They go after your pew pews, right? What do you think they're gonna do after they go after your pew pews? They're going after your freedom of speech. They just showed you what they did with TikTok. So is it very vital and important when you see a party doing that? Vote against them. And so we got a party that is in favor of free speech right now. What did they do? They let TikTok rock. Now you got JD Vance, where they were saying that the Republican Party was actually against free speech. He is talking and scolding the Europeans about, yo, like, nah, y'all like wilding right now. Like y'all arresting people for nothing. And people are entitled, like, for thought crimes and stuff. Like, no, people are entitled to have freedom of speech. Not all this censorship. And if we're going to be the standard for everybody else and people want to be involved in this, like, we have to set a precedent. We got to let people rock out. Like, let people have their opinions. Freedom of religion, order. Let people have their opinions.
Have come not from within Europe, but from within my own country, where the prior administration threatened and bullied social media companies to censor so-called misinformation.
Hey, subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of y'all in here. Stop playing with me, bro. Y'all act like I'm about to get 1 million subscribers and hate. Like, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm working, I'm grinding. Subscribe to the channel. Y'all watching. You know what I'm saying? We got like 100 subscribers this session. I appreciate that. But y'all can keep subscribing. Like, what? I got 118,000. Can I get 119,000? They got millions of followers. There's a lot of people with millions of followers. I'm still gonna be, you know what I mean, a little creator. Y'all subscribe to the channel, please. I've been in here hours. Stop playing. Thug life.
Misinformation like, for example, the idea that coronavirus had likely leaked from a laboratory in China. Our own government encouraged private companies to silence people.
I see you, high school welder said just subscribe. Who just subscribed? Put it in the comment section saying that you just subscribed. Let me know who just subscribed.
Who dared to utter what turned out to be an obvious truth. So I come here today not just with an observation, but with an offer. Just as the Biden administration seemed desperate to silence people for speaking their minds, so the Trump administration will do precisely the opposite, and I hope that we can work together on that. In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town, and under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree. Now, we're at the point, of course, that the situation has gotten so bad that this December, Romania straight up canceled the results of a presidential election based on the flimsy suspicions of an...
I had said, yo, I subscribe. Shout out to you. Gamer Games, I've been seeing you in here, I think. You said you subscribed. Thomas Maddox said, just subscribe, brother. Thank you. Sir said, just subscribed a few minutes ago. Shout out to you. Alan Munich said, I subscribe. LOL, subscribe. All right, dope. Rick Shelton said, just subscribe. Dustin Courtney said, I just subscribed. Joe Roman said, I just did. Appreciate you. Yup said, the Ben sub, loyal subscriber, shout out to you. Gut said, I still believe in Europe. Europe has a better standard of living for a reason. I'm not saying I don't believe in Europe, but like the freedom of speech thing, I do like what he's doing there. Michael Strange said, I just subscribed, and this is my first time seeing your podcast. Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Intelligence agency and enormous pressure from its continental neighbors. Now, as I understand it, the argument was that...
And shout out to Spike Strip Media. He said, just subscribe. Joshua said, he subbed last time. Shout out to you.
Russian disinformation had infected the Romanian elections. But I'd ask my European friends to have some perspective. You can believe it's wrong for Russia to buy social media advertisements to influence your elections. We certainly do. You can condemn it on the world stage even. But if your democracy can be destroyed with a few $100,000 of digital advertising from a foreign country, then it wasn't very strong to begin with. Now, the good news is that I happen to think your democracies are substantially less brittle than many people apparently fear. And I really do believe that allowing our citizens to speak their mind will make them stronger still. Which
another thing is, like, when people are speaking their mind, you can kind of gauge, like, if I'm running a government, right, and this is just being real, right, because the government is not going to be 100% for the people, they're for other people, right? You know what I'm saying? Thug life. But you kind of want people to kind of speak a little bit so you can see where they are, so you can see the pulse of the place that you're governing, so you'll know how to move, how to, you know what I mean, how to navigate through that. And then you'll see, okay, they're all looking at this. Let me go this way. You know what I'm saying? They think the government is doing this. We doing that. You know what I mean? Like, it creates a different way of creating a strategy. So if you're a government, so you kind of do want freedom of speech to a certain degree. But then there's the flip side of it. When people have freedom of speech, it can cause like riots. It can cause people to want to protest. It can cause different type of headaches. So it's just, you know, different belief systems, you know what I'm saying, can be at play. But I do feel like, you know, I mean, obviously I'm in America. I believe in like freedom of speech. I don't like the reason why I don't really like, I got like a lot of followers on TikTok, like real fast. I think I got like 36,000 followers with like 4 videos, right? So, but the problem with TikTok that I have is that you can't really say whatever you want on there. Even if you're not like being like rude or nothing, like you really got to watch everything you say. Like, I don't like that they operate TikTok like we live in China. You know what I mean? And I don't like the way I feel when I'm creating content on TikTok. I don't like, even though I'm monetized and I've been making a lot of money over there, I just don't like the way I feel when I'm creating content. YouTube is like, I feel like I could say just about whatever I want, right? But, you know, I understand freedom of speech comes with limitations. You got to be careful about what you say. But like, I don't like that feeling when I'm on TikTok. Like, yo, I gotta watch what I say. Like, I don't like that. You know, so just imagine living in one of them places like China or something, and it's like so restrictive. Like, nah, I don't like that, bro. Like, and we gotta, like, you know, support freedom of speech, I feel like.
Of course, brings us back to Munich, where the organizers of this very conference,
yeah, Miller said it's a China thing,
have banned lawmakers representing populist parties on both the left and the right from participating in these conversations. Now, again, we don't have to agree with everything or anything that people say. But when people...
Oh, y'all, we close to 119,000 subscribers. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to y'all. I appreciate y'all.
People represent, when political leaders represent an important constituency, it is incumbent upon us to at least participate in dialogue with them. Now, to many of us on the other side of the Atlantic, it looks more and more like old entrenched interests hiding behind ugly Soviet-era words like misinformation and disinformation, who simply don't like the idea that somebody with an alternative viewpoint might express a different opinion or, God forbid, vote a different way or, even worse, win an election. Now, this is a security conference, and I'm sure you all came here prepared to talk about how exactly you intend to increase defense spending over the next few years in line with some new target. And that's great, because as President Trump has made abundantly clear, he believes that our European friends must play a bigger role in the future of this continent. We don't think, you hear this term, burden sharing, but we think it's an important part of being in a shared alliance together that the Europeans step up while America focuses on areas of the world that are in great danger. But let me also ask you, how will you even begin to think through the kinds of budgeting questions if we don't know what it is that we are defending in the first place? I've heard a lot already in my conversations, and I've had many, many great conversations with many people gathered here in this room. I've heard a lot about what you need to defend yourselves from, and of course that's important. But what has seemed a little bit less clear to me, and certainly I think to many of the citizens of Europe, is what exactly it is that you're defending yourselves for. What is the positive vision that animates this shared security compact that we all believe is so important? And I believe deeply that there is no security if you are afraid of the voices, the opinions, and the conscience that guide your very own people. Europe faces many challenges, but the crisis this continent faces right now, the crisis I believe we all face together, is one of our own making. If you're running in fear of your own voters, there is nothing America can do for you. Nor, for that matter, is there anything that you can do for the American people who elected me and elected President Trump. You need democratic mandates to accomplish anything of value in the coming years. Have we learned nothing that thin mandates produce unstable results? But there is so much of value that can be accomplished with the kind of democratic mandate that I think will come from being more responsive to the voices of your citizens. If you're going to enjoy competitive economies, if you're going to enjoy affordable energy and secure supply chains, then you need mandates to govern.
No, this happened. Somebody said, is this live? It happened on February 14th, Valentine's Day.
Because you have to make difficult choices to enjoy all of these things. And of course, we know that very well in America. You cannot win a democratic mandate by censoring your opponents or putting them in jail. Whether that's the leader of the opposition, a humble Christian praying in her own home, or a journalist trying.
If you the person that is the 119,000 subscriber, you know what I'm saying, let me know.
To report the news. Nor can you win one by disregarding your basic electorate on questions like who gets to be a part of our shared society. And of all the pressing challenges that the nations represented here face, I believe there is nothing more urgent than mass migration. Today, almost 1 in 5 people living in this country moved here from abroad. That is, of course, an all-time high.
I'm sorry, JD Vance. This is a little bit boring. Shout out to you. Not saying you're boring, but That's a little boring. Yo, what is she talking about? Hold on, let me go to my boy Devoy Darkins real quick. I don't know him, but we going over there. See what he's saying real quick.
Democrats have suffered another loss.
Hold on.
From gaining access to sensitive information. DOGE a win ruling, and he can now access data to 3 government agencies. What more can you tell us about that? Because that is a hot topic this week.
KIR said just subscribe.
Yeah, that's right. There was an attempt by some groups to essentially block Elon Musk from gaining access to sensitive information from some of these agencies, including the Consumer Financial Protection Board and the Department of Labor. A federal judge, though, ultimately handing down a decision that says that Elon Musk can get access to that information. Laura, this is just underscoring the power and influence that Elon Musk has in Washington. You're seeing a picture on your screen right there. He was in the Oval Office beside President Trump at the White House earlier this week. He's leading that Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which has become a key priority for the Trump administration. So I expect we're going to be seeing a lot more.
Shout out to Christian Medwig. Christian Medwig is a left-leaning Republican.
Hearing a lot more from Elon Musk as these efforts continue to get underway.
All right, so now we're continuing to see the outcome of these lawsuits and how they are not on the side of Democrats because all they can do is sue the Trump administration at this point. But on what basis? I mean, what President Trump is doing through executive order and the power vested within, he has the ability to order Elon Musk to go into these agencies and audit them. And all Democrats can do is, cry and scream that he has access to sensitive information. And you guys have heard me say this so many times. The man has a top secret clearance. So this is a huge win for DOGE and a huge loss for the Democrats. Now, let's hear another troubling revelation for that party, where the Judge Chutkan, who we know President Trump does not like, and she was involved in the Jack Smith case. Here she is expressing her skepticism on the lawsuits as well.
14 states' attorneys general have hit a roadblock in their efforts to stop Elon Musk and DOGE. The attorneys general argued that Trump violated the appointments clause of the Constitution by creating DOGE, an unofficial government agency without congressional approval, and by granting Musk sweeping powers without seeking the advice and consent of the Senate. But federal judge Tanya Chutkan didn't seem convinced that the states showed enough evidence of imminent harm. At one point, Chutkan told a lawyer from the Maryland Attorney General's office, quote, "You're essentially asking me to shut down the government." The lawyer replied, "We're asking you to shut down a constitutional violation that we haven't seen in this country."
Yeah, so this reminds me of the Democrats and how they handle free speech, right? They say, no, we love free speech. We respect free speech. But hey, don't say that. That's misinformation. Hey, don't allow that to be on your social media platform. That's misinformation, right? I mean,
shout out to Shannon Chafin said, just subscribe. Shout out to you.
Their problem is they're a walking contradiction, okay? They don't want Trump, Elon Musk, and DOGE to audit the federal government, but they want a democracy. They want the government to work for the people, but they want to shut the government down. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Devoy Darkins got like 845,000 subscribers. Hey, subscribe to me!
Sense. And you know who else sees it this way? Swing voters out of the state of Arizona. The American people are not stupid, okay? They see what's going on here. But the Democrats don't want to accept that reality. Now, here's Fox News, the TV show The Five, talking about what these swing voters had to say about DOGE.
We're seeing polling in Arizona from swing state people. Kennedy, they want them to keep going. They say keep cutting. They love it.
And it was actually a very interesting polling group because it was people who had voted for Biden in 2020 who then switched their votes to Trump in 2024 because Bidenomics, as was the case for most people in the country, it didn't work out for them.
Hold on, I want to show this.
What are you considering when it comes to...
It says German minister erupts as J.D. Vance shreds European leaders to their faces.
Dealing with people who are whipping up this kind of behavior from behind a keyboard, maybe in a different country?
Being a keyboard warrior does not make you safe from the law. You can be guilty of offences of incitement, of stirring up racial hatred. There are numerous terrorist offences regarding the sort of publishing of material. All of those offences are in play if people are...
Marina trying to play me said, just subscribe. I've been lurking for a couple weeks now. I'd say I really like your channel, your content, and your perspective. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. Noah is a member on the channel. He supports the channel. He said, what's up, big dog? Thug life. Shout out to y'all.
Provoking hatred and violence on the streets, and we'll come after those individuals just as we will physically confront on the streets the thugs and the yobs who are causing the problems for communities.
And expressing opinions isn't election interference. Even when people express views outside your own country, and even when those people are very influential.
All right, so somebody said something, right? It's a subscriber, so I'm gonna read this. Barr said, I've not read but understand why Trump told Netanyahu us will... You said, I have not read but understand why Trump told Netanyahu us will own Gaza. The holy war is not our interest. I think I know what he wants to do with Gaza, but haven't heard him say it yet. I mean, I think, I think it's kind of in, like, because some people are saying, yo, that's not in our interest. Why are we, I'm not saying you saying this, but it's not in our interest. Why are we, like, getting involved in that? Why do we want to take over the Gaza Strip? Hey, they want, like, these wars to stop, bro. And if the United States is there, Hamas ain't about to play. Like, because they know what it is, right? Another thing is, like, if there start being a war between Israel and Hamas, right? Because we already know what's going on with that. So if it continues and things happen, what do you think Israel's going to want? They're going to want money. You see what I'm saying? So we're going to end up just giving them more, like, tax money and stuff like that. So it's like, and it'd be stuff that sometimes y'all don't even support. So it would be good to figure out a way to stop that, right? And then maybe they could, like, rebuild, like, the Gaza Strip and put hotels and, you know what I'm saying, like, make it, like, livable, make it, like, more modern and stuff like that. Maybe they'll chill people out a little bit. So, you know, it could work in our interest in different ways, my opinion.
And trust me, I say this with all humor. If American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk. But what no democracy, American, German, or European, will survive is telling millions of voters that their thoughts and concerns, their aspirations, their pleas for relief are invalid or unworthy of even being considered.
Hey guys, fraud is at an all-time high right now. We all saw what was happening during the Biden administration, man. It was crazy. Like, I've heard horror stories of people who were fighting for their homes, their own homes, for 3 years in court. So basically, guys,
this is like, we ain't listening to that.
Transformational applications. Now, the computing power this stack requires is integral to advancing AI technology. And to safeguard America's advantage, the Trump administration will ensure that the most powerful AI systems are built in the U.S. with American-designed and manufactured chips.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information.
Duh! Who voted for her? Who did it? Who did that?
Is going into the machine that will then determine, and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions that may be made through that process.
Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years,
somebody said, my God, hey, y'all was voting for her. Y'all was wilding. She's like, AI, you know what it means? Artificial intelligence. Like, oh my God. Christian Medwit, you voted for her? Lord.
Will ensure that the most powerful AI systems are built in the U.S. with American-designed and manufactured chips.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately,
It's a fancy thing. So 2 letters to her is fancy. It means she is a train wreck. Shout out to Bar. He said she's a train wreck. This is crazy.
what it is it's about machine learning. And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine that will then determine, and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions that may be made through that process.
Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding ourselves to an appropriately high standard.
But when you present the suggestion that anyone is saying that it is time for a new generation, and they're running against the person who is president, and when presented as though it's an attack, I would like to let us all be clear that the attack is misplaced if the point of it is that we need leadership that is strong. Because
Martin Gingrich with the $5 donation said chat lost brain cells because of this. She should be rewarded. No point. Said she should be rewarded. No points, and may God have mercy on her soul. That's crazy. She said that. Like it's a fancy. It means artificial intelligence. Like, Lord.
we have a strong leader in Joe Biden.
Hey, JD is over there standing on business, though.
Yeah, he's telling all the countries we're making all the chips and y'all gonna buy the chips from us.
Yeah. I bet we'll hear a lot about JD throughout this thing because, you know,
he's gonna be the next
He's
man
our
up.
next, you know, he's the backup quarterback, you know.
Yeah.
He's Arch Manning. He was the guy that sent over there.
Yeah, I don't even think they're gonna really have anybody to compete with him in a debate.
To do this. This was perfect for him.
He's letting it be known we're making American chips and y'all gonna buy American chips.
The more I hear Kamala talk, I didn't even hear this clip, guys, but I just actually can't believe some idiots out there were thinking that this was the best choice to go to Germany and talk to these people, wherever they were.
You can see that she's very media trained. Like, she just steers the conversation in a way to say whatever she wants to say that has nothing to do with the question. That's why she would just ramble and never answer any question.
First of all, it's two letters. It's two letters.
AI.
I
would think you was talking about Allen Iverson.
And it's computer learning.
The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within. The retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values shared with the United States of America.
The First Amendment.
Now, I was struck that...
Subscribe to my channel. Stop playing, bro. What is y'all doing, man? I'm about to go off, bro. What y'all doing, man? Hold up. Let me make sure. I'm about to go off, man, because y'all trying to play me, bro. All right.
A former European commissioner went on television recently and sounded delighted that the Romanian government had just annulled an entire election. He warned that if things don't go to plan, the very same thing could happen in Germany too.
Boy, you're a boy.
Now, these cavalier statements are shocking to American ears. For years, we've been told that everything we fund and support is in the name of our shared democratic values. Everything from our Ukraine policy to digital censorship is billed as a defense of democracy. But when we see European courts canceling elections and senior officials threatening to cancel others, we ought to ask whether we're holding.
Hold up.
Welcome back. I'm Austin West.
Trump officials to begin peace talks with Russia and Saudi Arabia over Ukraine war. Yeah, man, like, I'm with that. I'm with that.
All a live look at the White House on this Saturday evening, 7:15, and
possibly a summit with Putin and Trump in Saudi Arabia. Now, all of a sudden, literally, we're talking about a U.S. delegation heading off to Saudi
Craig Wilson said, "And we sucked."
Arabia to meet with a Russian delegation. The U.S. is saying that the Ukrainians are going to be there, and of course, the Ukrainians have come back and said, "We don't know anything about this. We haven't been invited. We're not sure what it is." And
they trying to play me, Craig Wilson. They trying to play me. We need 100 more subscribers. Stop playing with me, bro. What is y'all doing? Why they playing with me, man?
Meanwhile, you got President Zelensky very vocal about his concern that the
shout out to Jonathan Hill with the $4.99. He said Kamala Harris in her legendary word salad.
U.S. about the U.S. and Russia basically reaching some sort of agreement on Ukraine, but not including Ukraine. And all of this in the backdrop of whatever's being discussed, the U.S. has said
Zelensky don't even look like a leader. To me, he don't.
Said that we may broker a deal between Ukraine and Russia, but the European
they every time I see him, it's like everybody else is like laughing at him in front of his face. He don't even know.
Won't be a part of it. I have to tell you, it's been a pretty fast-moving week.
Like he don't want to even be sitting across from Zelensky. Look at JD Vance. You like, look at this dude, bro.
It's been a bit of a challenge just to keep up on all the new statements and change in policy, change in positions going on. This is interesting, though. This will
Zelensky like, I want more money from America. Tommy, come here and get $1 billion. I can't wait for Trump to end this war, bro. It's still sleaze.
Will be the first time though that we've seen anything like this since really the Ukraine war began almost 3 years ago. And so whatever it is, and of course,
I know 600 billion. No, 77 billion. But yeah, 600. He said 600 billion for Zelensky, and he can't buy a suit. Oh Lord, bro! He's just giving this dude all of our money. It's crazy.
I would also mention that
America only gave us 77 billion out of 177 billion. He's snitching on us. I mean, I don't rock. I'm not Democratic, but like, how you gonna like get 77 billion and start title telling? Like what? Like, bruh.
U.S. does not have to have Ukraine or.
And when are they ever going to give us our money back? Are they ever going to give us our money back? It was 177 billion, but then 100 billion went missing. Like, is he going to give us that 77 billion back? Like,
or any other countries involved in a dialogue with
JD Vance looking at him like, bro, you don't make no decisions around here. Look how JD Vance looking at dude, bro. This JD Vance right here. Look at him like, bro, like, stop talking, bro. You ain't, you don't run nothing. Like, chill out.
With the Russians. We can talk to the Russians about a variety of things directly, and we talk to other countries directly all the time. But in so much as this is with the backdrop of talking about the Russo-Ukraine war, it would seem important that the Ukrainians are going to be there. And I think at this point, I would not be surprised if there's some rapid behind the scenes discussion, which is to make sure that the Ukrainians will have somebody there representing their interests.
Jonathan Hill with the $4.99. He is, hey, Jonathan Hill, you are, hey, can he get a thug life? He is the biggest supporter on the channel today because everybody acting like a Democrat besides him. Shout out to him. And the Republicans are here. Shout out to the Republicans, everybody. You know what I'm saying? But he said Ukrainians scared they may not get that land back. Yeah, they is a little bit scared. Zelensky panicking.
Because
JD Vance looking at him like squirm, little Zelensky. Just go ahead, squirm a little bit. Yeah, you don't run nothing. We run you.
Well, it will look very strange. In fact, it will be it will put tremendous strain on the U.S. if we're talking to the Russians and Saudi Arabia about the fate of Ukraine, and the Ukrainians are not there. That is really going to cause us issues in a variety of places around the world.
So that also, and you just touched on this, I want to expand on it though. We also were reading today that major representatives from European powers are not going to be joining these talks.
Shout out to Professor of Logic. He said, not a Democrat. Dog life! Shout out to Professor of Logic. Christian Medwood being a Democrat in there. Shout out to Shout out to Professor Logic. Shout out to you, bro.
Either. How do you think that's sitting with some of the top figures in Europe, Hal?
I would say if I was in Berlin, Paris, or London, it would not be sitting very well at all. In fact, I would be very perturbed by seeing something like that. They all feel that they should be there at the table. At the very least, they probably feel there should be a European Union or a NATO rep at the table. And I think Mark Rutte, the head of NATO, would be.
Oh, it was somebody on Fox News that was. How much money? Hold up. Oh, that's Fox Business. Hold up. Dude was going off. White House having behind the scenes conversation with senators is important. That ain't it. Shout out to LOL with the 99-cent donation, bro. I appreciate you. Was it? It was Jesse Waters. He was kind of wild.
I will lift you up when they push you down. I will raise my voice and stand.
Federal workers defy DOGE.
My ground. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you.
The Democrats' anti-DOGE choir is back with a fresh new track.
The Democrat. Yo, he don't care, bro. Jonathan Hill, he said, been rocking with you for a while since when you lost your first channel, but loving the new content. Appreciate you, bro. Jonathan Hill been around for a while. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to you. Hey, Waters is wilding, bro. Hold on.
The Democrats' anti-DOGE choir is back with a fresh new track that's almost as painful as Greg's bumping music. Those liberal lunatics capping off another week of anti-Elon rallies, raging against the waste management.
Jonathan Hill must be a Republican. He got that bag.
Wizards. DOGE now has a website that's keeping score on all the government slop they're digging up. Case in point, the Department of Education just had to slash grants to 4 equity assistance centers, blowing $33 million of your taxpayer cash on things like this workshop on whiteness.
Today's virtual roundtable is
a workshop addressing power and privilege toward anti-racist spaces. What?
Titled Identifying and Disrupting Your Whiteness, a workshop addressing power and privilege toward anti-racist spaces.
And we just got an exclusive clip. Sean Hannity sitting down with President Trump and Elon Musk for their first joint interview. Let's watch.
You're both aware, you have to be keenly aware, that the media and the punditry class, not that, I think you've proven they have no power anymore because they threw everything they had at you and they didn't win. And
the Department of, what is it? The DOJ. They end up throwing at Donald Trump and he won. It's the greatest story of it. Like, bro, this is better than Scarface, bro. I don't care what y'all say. This dude defied the odds and became president. This is crazy. And is trying to save freedom of speech. Insane.
That was, the New York Times, Washington Post, 3 networks, every late night comedy show, 2 cable channels. They just threw everything, lawfare, weaponization. Sure. And now I see they want you two to start. They want a divorce. They want you two.
Yeah, they trying to that's what they're doing. MSNBC, CNN, they're trying to pin these two against each other. That's what they're trying to do. But I think they already know the program and what they're going to end up trying. Barr said Russia was right. As long as NATO did move in their direction, they violated, and he wanted those ports.
To start hating each other. And they try, President Elon Musk, for example. You do know that they're doing that to you.
Oh, I see it all the time. They tried it, then they stopped. That wasn't. They have many different things of hatred. Actually, Elon called me. He said, they're trying to drive us apart. I said, absolutely. No, they said, we have breaking news. Donald Trump has ceded control of the presidency to Elon Musk. President Musk will be attending a cabinet meeting tonight at 8 o'clock. And I say, It's just so obvious. They're so bad at it. I used to think they were good at it. They're actually bad at it, because if they were good at it, I'd never be president. Because I think nobody in history has ever gotten more bad publicity than me. I could do the greatest things. I get 98% bad publicity. I could do, outside of you and a few of your very good friends, it's like the craziest thing. But
Jonathan Hill with the 199, he said, not a Republican. I'm pro common sense. Shout out to you.
You know what I have learned, Elon? The people are smart. They get it.
But you're going by the end of these 4 years, bro, you're gonna turn red. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be like Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith don't want to admit it, but he leaning right.
Yeah, they do. Actually. They get it. They really see what's happening.
Yes.
That interview airs next Tuesday at 9 o'clock Eastern. All right, Judge Janine, more singing from the Democrats.
Yeah.
Are you enjoying that?
I have to tell you that there is no better way for the Democrats to continue to destroy themselves than to continue on this mission that they have with the F Trump and F Elon and the singing, when the American people are like, we get this, just the way the President Trump was saying, we get this. We
Professor Logic said, but Ukraine was the buffer between NATO and Russia.
Want to know where all the expenditures are going. I just said to someone, did you know that $22 billion went to illegals from Joe Biden over 2 years, I think actually a year and a half, for them to buy a house and buy a car and start a business when senior citizens and veterans are, homeless or trying to figure out medication or food. So I just hope the Democrats continue to go down that road. Now, 14 attorney generals across the country are now suing, saying that Elon Musk doing this is a violation of the Appointments Clause, and he lacks Senate confirmation, and he's got too much private information at his hands. You know what? It's nothing more than politically motivated attempt to destroy and hide. Because as a prosecutor, I say to myself, who is against exposing fraud and corruption? Okay, the ones who are at risk of being charged with fraud and corruption, and the ones who favor a bureaucracy. And let the Dems do it; they'll lose again.
We're seeing polling in Arizona from swing state people. Kennedy, they want them to keep going. They say keep cutting. They love it.
And it was actually a very interesting polling group because it was people.
Interesting. You said Gaza is not America first.
Who had voted for Biden in 2020, who then switched their votes to Trump in 2024 because Bidenomics, as was the case for most people in the country, it didn't work out for them. So it didn't work out for them because their taxes are too high, eggs are too expensive, people still are having a hard time making mortgage payments and paying the rent and affording college and everything else. So now they're realizing where that hard-earned tax money is actually going. And the more we hear about $160 million going to a Canadian electric school bus factory that has now declared bankruptcy and never made good on their promise to deliver school buses, 100 million of them, to 55 school districts in the country, it's like, that's where my money has gone. They actually want more of it, because the feeling is if you cut out entire departments and if you shed sunlight on all of this waste and abuse, then maybe taxes will finally come down. Then maybe federal expenditures will come down. And I'm shocked that Democrats haven't gotten on board with this and gone, you know what? We're not helping people if we're squirreling this money away to projects that do absolutely nothing. We're Democrats. We're the party of the working man. So let's ferret out the abuse and find better, less expensive ways to truly help people. But they're not doing that, and that's dumb.
Why can't they just have a reasonable position, Harold, where they...
I like how she closed it out. She didn't know what to say. She's like, and how they're doing that, and that's dumb. She is funny.
Thread the needle and say, yeah, we don't need the sex changes for the Guatemalans. You know, we don't need the DEI operas, but maybe we could just do this in a little bit of a more constitutional way.
Good to be with you, Kennedy. Good to see you. I think, and happy Valentine's Day. I think a couple things.
Well, Harold, thank you. I didn't think we were at that level.
We're not.
Okay.
Nor will we ever be. But I was really wishing all of the viewers happy Valentine's Day. I'd say, I think that Kennedy touches on something with the Arizona swing voters, and Democrats need to be mindful. These were Democrats, or at least voted Democrat, then voted Republican this last go round. How they're perceiving this and how they're evaluating. This is the group that Democrats, I think, those that are singing outside the agencies and outside the Capitol. I think this is the group they're trying to appeal to, but they're not. A separate survey that Gallup conducted showed that 45% of Democrats think that Democrats need to be more moderate. It's an 11-point increase from just 3 or 4 years ago. These are the things we should be taking note of. Now, what President Trump and Mr. Musk and others are doing with this DOGE and some of the other things, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. This is only 4 weeks in here. We've got a long way to go. Democrats, if you are serious about wanting to reform government, then offer your own ideas.
Yeah, offer your own ideas. That's what I think. Jonathan Hill said they selling egg Lucy's here in New York.
Offer other ideas to make government operate more efficiently. Offer more ideas to help.
But I'm about to get up out of here. Shout out to everybody that's been supporting the channel. I appreciate everybody. This video has 95,000 views. Appreciate y'all. 1,200 watch time hours. That's a lot. You know what I'm saying? 41,000 real-time views. You know, it's all y'all. We got a lot of subscribers this session. So I don't know if I can show y'all this Doug Life. So we we just need really 100 more subscribers, and then we'll be at 119,000. It's Gucci, you know what I mean? But right now, 1206, you know, it kind of resets, so, you know what I mean? Shout out to everybody, and they slowing it down because all the likes are starting to go down. People tired. I know y'all sick of hitting the like button, hitting the like button, Piperboy Williams. You know what I'm saying? It's tired. I know y'all gotta go to sleep. But shout out to JD Vance. Shout out to everybody, you know? And I love that people are waking up and they're starting to look at things from a more common sense thing rather than emotional. As far as the Democratic Party, I think the only thing they can do is look at things from an emotional standpoint. But right now, I love the way the country is moving. I think Trump is moving crazy fast, and he's getting everything accomplished. I like the speech that JD Vance did, you know what I mean? Kind of scolding them, letting them know, hey, if we're going to be what people look at as the proper governing parties, you know what I'm saying? We got to let people be able to talk and have freedom of speech. You know what I mean? And then he also is basically letting them know, hey, we're going to be making the chips now. Y'all gonna be buying them for us. You know what I'm saying? But shout out to JD Vance. Shout out to everybody. Come ready, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about that. Also, if you can, follow my TikTok and my Twitter. You know what I mean? I may end up going live maybe in the morning. We'll see, because I'm gonna be out of town. You know what I mean? So if y'all catch me going live, if I'm out of town going live, it's probably gonna be from like a different area. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. Come rate, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about that.